Thank you so much for stopping by. Today, we're going to be going over the top 10 tips that I can think of when you start a new wipe in Tarkov, or if this is your first wipe in Tarkov. So let's go ahead. Let's start off with point number 1 now. So this kind of refers to a video that I made recently called 5 Reasons That You Should Play Escape from Tarkov right now. Now this starts to point number 1, in particular if you're a player who hasn't played recently or if you're brand new, start as soon as possible. Learn the mechanics before worrying about quests. So, for example, you're going to learn how the gunplay works, how the movement works, how to heal, all that kind of stuff. So I want to make sure that if you start now, when things don't really matter because wipe is imminent, you're going to have the opportunity to really start to learn the game. Now, let's jump into point number 2, which really ties in if you're an active player, an old player, a new player, all that kind of stuff. Let's talk about point number 2 now, which is learning the maps. So this really comes, full circle when you are doing your early game quests. Where do you find the golden pocket watch? Where do you go to kill 5 scavs? All that kind of stuff. Now, the best way to do that is, 1, to use the Tarkov wiki, but if you want to get your hands on, do an offline raid. So go to your PMC and then just choose a map. Let's say you want to learn customs. Go in at whatever time you want, and then just enable practice mode. From here, you can also enable scavs, so that way you know where they will be. You can also choose random weather conditions, all that kind of stuff, and then just go ahead and hit next and hit ready, and you'll load into an offline raid. This is great for new players to really get their feet wet if they haven't, done anything on these maps previously. Point number 3 is, how do we get the most XP possible during your raid? Now, a lot of this is going to come down to you doing tasks. For you to get your tasks, you just go to your character, go to the tasks bar up here, and then search at all of your active tasks that you have going on. You can also look at individual traders. For example, let's look at Peacekeeper. I have 2 dailies, it looks like, from Peacekeeper right now, as well as my standard quests like Spa Tour and Samples. Along with that, there are some neat tricks into getting extra XP per raid. Hit your headshots is the most important thing that I can tell you. It's going to give you a ton more every single time. And then, of course, searching and looting gives you XP along the way. So this is one way that you guys can really boost the XP that you get each and every raid, so that way you can get to a higher level faster. The next thing that I want to go over is your important external resources. So this is the Tarkov wiki, which I'm going to put a screenshot up right now for you. And you have Map Genie, which basically will help you guys learn maps. These are 2 of the most important external resources that I use all the time, as well as YouTube videos like the ones that I create that'll give you guys extra information on what you need to do in Tarkov to be successful down the road. The next thing that I want to talk about is early hideout upgrades that you guys are going to want to prioritize. So I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to turn the power on in my hideout here for us. The first thing that I'm going to recommend that you guys try to get to is level 2 lavatory. And the reason for that is at level 2, you guys can craft this mag in particular. This is needed for the ice cream cones quest. Anything you craft is found in raid, so then you can turn these in to be able to turn in that quest down the road. Along with that, I do recommend you start to look for level 2 intelligence center so you can run your scav more often. I don't recommend scavving a ton, but when you need to scav for money, it's going to be super helpful, especially if you do hit a rough patch. Along with that is going to be things like your workbench. You're going to want to upgrade that as often as possible, along with like the med station and the nutritional unit. So those are some of the early game hideout upgrades that I recommend that you get as soon as possible, so that way down the road, you guys have those ready. The next point that I want to talk to you about is some early game barters that are super helpful. The first one that I'm going to talk about is this one right here, the 6B23-1 for a propane tank. Now, the reason that I say that this is super helpful is early game, you're not going to have great armor. So having level 3 armor right off the bat is going to be super helpful because you're not going to have things like the TV-12 or slicks or anything like that when you start this wipe off. Along with that, you also have the AKM trade for 3 small tans of Tushonka, which could be found in the back of Goshen if you run a scav run there. There are also quite a few other ones, ranging from like a day pack for a hard drive, which I believe is a Peacekeeper barter at level 1 right here. So you can get a hard drive and then a DVD, or just a hard drive for the MBSS. You're not going to have a ton of backpacks at the start of wipe, and so getting bigger backpacks like these two is going to be very helpful for you as well. I will also put together a resource in the description for you guys that'll go over all of the most helpful early game barters that I typically use, all kind of in like a public Google Drive doc or PDF file that you guys can download. That'll be linked in the description for you. Let's talk about some early game actions that you're going to want to do when you first start your wipe. The first thing you should do is inspect every single item from all of the main traders that you have access to. So Prapper, Therapist, Skier, Peacekeeper, Mechanic, and Regman, and potentially Fence if you don't hit level 2. The reason that I want you guys to hit level 2 right off the bat is because that unlocks a quest from Mechanic to find Jaeger. And Jaeger has one of my favorite weapons in the game, which is the OPSKS. That weapon carried me through early wipe time and time again. So it is one of the most important things that I recommend, as well as level 1 Jaeger sells the MP133 shotgun, which you will also need for a quest for Prepper, and they do not need to be found in raid. So it's one of the best ways to ensure that you can actually get those done as fast as possible. I also recommend running with a Mosin as your standard weapon. The reason for that is you do need to have level 9 sniper skill throughout your time to get Kappa. So if Kappa is something that you want to shoot for this wipe, make sure that you are running a Mosin early so you can really start to level that sniper skill as you go. The next thing that I want to give you guys a little bit of a tip on is that there is going to be a new map. Streets of Tarkov is finally releasing with the next wipe, and we actually already have a kind of primitive pre-rendered map of what this is going to look like. So you guys could spend some time looking into that and have a little bit of an edge when you actually enter Streets for the first time. I'll include a link in the description for you guys to go to, and I am going to put a quick little screenshot of what that map looks like for you, so you can see what you're working with when Streets drops for the first time this upcoming wipe. Another thing that we're going to want to prioritize is some of the early game quest keys. I'm going to include a link to quest keys in the description of this video as well, so that way you guys know where to get things like the machinery key or the unknown key to be able to really start to knock out some of those early game quests that require them. But I also always recommend that you check jackets. Jackets is huge to be able to find like dorm keys that you'll need for quests down the road, or even some rare keys like Dorm's Marked Room that you will need for quests as well. So those are what I would recommend to do. Every jacket that you find, you're going to want to search, especially early wipe. Finally, the last and probably the most important tip that I have for you guys is to remember to have fun. Tarkov, at the end of the day, is a game with a bunch of pixels. I know that we all get very, very competitive, and it sucks when we die, especially early wipe when we don't have a lot of stuff to carry us through the next raid. But at the end of the day, remember to have fun. It's always a fun time. You can do loot runs in between. Don't take it overly seriously. I do, of course, want to give you guys the best information on how to succeed in Tarkov, but at the end of the day, you're going to get Tarkoved. It's the name of the game. But I hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you did, please like, comment, and subscribe to the channel, as there will be more beginner guide stuff like this coming down the road, and I look forward to seeing you in the next video. Thank you so much.